Hey everybody, I'm at home, relaxing, having a kind of a come down, a bring down. I've been thinking a lot about the concept of fear and anxiety in our society and how we're dealing with it. There's a good deal of fear going on around right now. It's warranted. We're in the midst of this pandemic. I feel I have had this sensation before, and I have felt this way before. I have led a very precarious life. My life has been kind of one explosion and catastrophe after another, with this kind of constant pursuit of some kind of goal or some kind of ideal of who I would be in the society. And it was just one blow up after the other after the other. I feel like that happens to a lot of people. I've been very fortunate in that my explosions and catastrophes have always led somewhere. I've always landed on my feet, and I've always picked myself up by my bootstraps. I've always gone on to the next thing and done the best that I could and worked as hard as I could have. And it just kind of always blows up, or everything kind of goes wrong. And in those periods of time, you're gripped with a sense of fear. You've got to move, because I feel like one of the scariest things dealing with this pandemic has been the great deal of uncertainty that exists amongst the populace, that people don't actually know if their elected officials are going to do the right thing or not. We're in a very tumultuous time in that people don't trust their elected officials. People don't trust the institutions that are around them. People feel as though they are being signaled very heavily that it's every man for themselves. The proponents of capitalism, like the big heavyweight people, right? Like the people that we're all supposed to be listening to and paying attention to as a serious intellectual, are telling us to abandon each other, that it's every man for themselves. It's up to the individual to do things. It's up to the individual to fend for themselves, to improve the world around them, as if we're all on equal footing with one another. When it's pretty clear that we're not. And this is what we're being told by business people. This is what we're being told by intellectuals. This is what we're being told by our institutions, that you have to fight your own battle by yourself and no one's going to help you. So that translates to a disease outbreak and a virus outbreak like this in very scary ways. Do we believe that our government and that our officials are going to actually do what's right? Or do we think they will actually adhere to this insidious, odious doctrine of abandonment? And that's really what we should be calling this idea of individualism, this rugged kind of survivalist outlook on life, is that we should be calling it an ideology of abandonment, because that's fundamentally how it operates, and that is what it espouses. That if people around you become burdensome, you should cut them out and move on. Fortunately, one thing that's been helping with my own fear and my own anxiety, living in this society that says that we should abandon people, is that it appears as though the elected officials around us here in Canada are doing the right thing. And that actually does release a bit of weight off of me. And that actually does release, a lot of anger I'm a guy that rages. I rage a lot. I rage a lot. And if you see any of my videos, you see that that's true. And it really does come out of this place of deep fear and deep concern. And I'm very scared of what could happen next. I'm very scared of what could happen next. And I'm happy to see that the Liberal Party is doing the right thing. And seems to be quickly, with no pomp and circumstance, with no waffling or wavering. And that's heartening. That's heartening. It's heartening to know that in a time of crisis, this talk of individualism and sort of this abandonment ideology is kind of revealed as the farce that it always was. It was a bluff. It was a bluff. It was just chest out. Yeah, your life's good enough. Your life's good enough is sort of the attitude of these people, and they don't want to actually do anything. But when push comes to shove, when there's actual, like, a critical issue, when there's something critical going on, they're doing the right thing. And that by itself is just like, I just feel like we should be calm in that realization that they are doing the right thing. And I don't think it's crazy at all to feel uncertain and feel anxiety and feel scared during this period of time. I'm feeling very scared. I'm feeling very scared. I'm feeling very scared about what's going to happen next and who's going to be affected and what's going to occur. So I think everybody just has to kind of grab hold of the people who are around them and just be thankful that in a crisis, the people around us do the right thing. But now I think it's up to us to be serious and say, we can do the right thing here. We can continue to do the right thing. We can continue to do the right thing. My biggest fear in all of this is that eventually it will pass and things will return to the kind of, that the game of capitalism will return again, and that the shuffle of it and the sort of scheming of it will return again. That's the thing that gets me the most about capitalism as a system, is that you're supposed to spend your time scheming about how best to exploit the people around you. That's the game of capitalism. That I'm supposed to really buckle down and think, how can I squeeze the most out of these people? How can I exploit them the best? And people don't have any leverage in the society. That people who are abandoned, as is the ideology, have to take what they can get. Every move is a dangerous one, and filled with uncertainty, because you don't know how it's actually going to be when you move on. That if you're in a position where you feel comfortable and you're feeling good, right? Chances are good that that's what life is going to give you, and that's the best it's going to be. Because if you don't have the capital to make a big move, or if you don't have the resources, if you don't have the resources to bounce back from it, it can be a real problem. My little dog, he's grumbling away. My little dog, he's guarding the house, being a good boy. He is being a good boy. I can't tell if he likes that I'm home more or not. I don't think it's settled in for him quite yet. This is a slower recording, this one, because this is how I'm feeling. I think we can calm down, and I think we need to grow from this experience. That the fear is the abandonment, and there's solace knowing that our officials are not abandoning us on this scale. But we do abandon people, and that's why it's so scary. We've been abandoning people for decades, and making excuses for it, pretending like it's their own individual fault, as is the ideology, as opposed to a larger difficulty. Because each individual lives in this system that's much bigger than they are. Every individual lives, even the idea that they are living amongst a whole bunch of individuals, they have no hope. If those individuals all decide that this individual is banished and they're not part of the society, and once you have enough individuals, it becomes so big and unwieldy that there's no real way of knowing who is going to be abandoned or how or all of that. And what kind of rule set they're going to be abandoned by. People just are. They just become that way. As a byproduct of the system that we live in, they become that way. People don't become homeless because they're happy about it. It's rare that people choose that. I feel like people get forced into these situations. They're living in crisis on a daily basis. I kind of look at what our government's done for us all during a period of crisis, and I'm happy about it. It makes me feel safer. But I'm concerned that when it all ends, when the crisis is over, then the shell game of capitalism will be returned, and we'll be told that this is the game we all have to play again. And that the people who were already living in crisis, the people who desperately needed this kind of level of support that I know and I've met and I see all the time, that they'll be told that they have to return to that level of crisis, that the rest of us will return to some kind of semblance of what's considered normal, and that momentum will continue to take us, and we'll just kind of nod to those who were already living in crisis, and we'll say to them, well, it was nice visiting you. Because that's really what it is that they continue on living in this crisis and living with this fear. While the rest of us are supposed to just kind of take off and then be okay with that. And I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair, and I don't think that's right. Sorry. And I think that we have shown just now that we can do better for them. We know that we can do better. We did it so quickly. They were so ready. The Liberals were so ready with all of this. They really knew. Like, they knew. They had all of this sort of erected, all ready to go, so that when this happened, they could just pull the switch on it. That's why it's happening so quickly. Because they're not stupid. People like Bill Morneau do know their business. And so they must have had it all ready to go. Or near as. And so we should just keep it. We should just keep it. And I don't think that when they say we should treat this like an emergency measure, our response should be yes, and so we should keep it. Because there are millions who are in an emergency. We are in a climate emergency. Our society is in an emergency. And so we should keep emergency measures as we are in an emergency, even after the coronavirus ends. Millions will go back to being in an emergency, and we will remain in a climate emergency. We're in a big emergency. It's scary as hell. And I still don't believe that these liberals are taking the climate emergency seriously enough. I don't think that they are. And if these measures are to be clawed back after this situation, then I don't think they are taking it seriously. People are scared. People vote out of fear. People move out of fear. And we need to alleviate that. We need to do better for the people around us. All right, good luck out there, guys. Oh. Good luck out there. I love you all. And have fun if you can.